This court now sentences you on count 1 to life in Florida State Prison with a 10-year minimum mandatory and credit for 1,704 days already served. On count 2, I will sentence you to life in Florida State Prison with a 10-year minimum mandatory and credit for 1,704 days already served. The two sentences will run concurrent with each other. There are standard court costs of prosecution, which can be reduced to a civil lien. You have 30 days to appeal. As for count 1, this court will find you guilty, adjudicate you to be guilty, sentence you to life in Florida State Prison with credit for 1,752 days already served. Count 2, I sentence you to life in Florida State Prison with credit for 1,752 days already served. Two counts will run concurrent with each other. There are standard court costs of prosecution. I will reduce those to civil lien. Both you and Mr. Newsom should understand that life sentences are necessarily life without possibility of parole because you do not have parole in Florida. A jury of your peers having found you guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm and having discharged that firearm and having that firearm discharge result in the death of Jose Antoy, this court will sentence you to life in Florida State Prison, credit for 1,732 days already served. Both counts carry with them a 25-year minimum mandatory.
XXXTentacion have been given life in prison. So guys, remember this, $15,000 a piece to these boys got them life in prison. They'll never see the free life. A simple job at McDonald's paying $15 an hour, they could have made that money in just 6 months and been free to roam about. But they have to stay in prison until someone discovers them that they're not still alive in their jail cell. But no one sees it that way, at least in the street life. Now the judge flat out gave all the information to these guys and he kept it real with all of these 3 defendants. Now one thing that I found odd or I didn't know about until today was Florida does not have parole, so it's over for them. So if they get the life sentence, they have to serve it and it's a wrap. Now the first person that was hit with the actual sentencing was Trayvon Newsom. He was hit with 2 counts of life.
I'm pretty sure, having sat through the trial, that you did not wake up that morning and say to yourself, I'm going to go kill somebody today, or I'm going to go and hook up with people who will murder someone. But you did go for an armed robbery. And what happens is that when you take a firearm and you rob somebody, you're telling the world, I'm going to take something that doesn't belong to me by force. And I've got deadly force. And I'm willing to use that deadly force and able to achieve my goals. And even if your intent at that moment was only to rob and not to kill, who can say that the death of the victim is not a predictable and foreseeable outcome of arming yourself and confronting the person? That's why we have the felony murder rule. You are a textbook case. During the trial, at one point, you lashed out at Robert Allen for being a snitch. I think your anger is misplaced. If you have any anger about what's happening here today and what will happen to you for the rest of your life, beyond the anger that you should have with yourself, perhaps your anger should be directed behind you at your co-defendants, the ones who selected the target in this case, and the one who turned a robbery into a murder. They're the ones that you can thank for your predicament beyond your own actions. Trayvon Newsom, a jury of your peers having found you guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree with a firearm and robbery with a deadly weapon, a firearm. This court now sentences you on count 1 to life in Florida State Prison with a 10-year minimum mandatory and credit for 1,704 days already served. On count 2, I will sentence you to life in Florida State Prison with a 10-year minimum mandatory and credit for 1,704 days already served. The two sentences will run concurrent with each other. There are standard court costs, cost of prosecution, which can be reduced to a civil lien. You have 30 days to appeal.
Then Dietrich Williams, who was the one that put the whole robbery together, including seeing XXXTentacion at the store, he was charged with 2 counts of life in prison as well. Now, the judge said he was very shocked on how Dietrich Williams was dancing around with money on camera after the incident went down. He also didn't like how Dietrich Williams went to buy clothes right after the robbery, showing that he was proud of what he did, meaning that he spent the money on sneakers and clothes, meaning the value of XXXTentacion's life wasn't a big deal to him, or he wasn't regretful.
You are the perfect example of why we have a law of principles in this state. When you engage in criminal acts with others, you bear the responsibility for your collective actions. It was you who picked the target in this case. You went inside Riva Motorsports, confirmed the identification, and what was there, and then you went back out and sat in the vehicle. Now, while you may not have left the vehicle and you may not have brandished a firearm or fired the fatal shots, you are as guilty as they are, because you are an essential part of that crime. Without your actions, it would not have happened. Additionally, I don't look at the way someone behaves in court. Courts, for sentencing purposes, courts are stressful things. People react to stuff differently. But there are things that I can look at. And I can tell you this court is shocked by your behavior after the murder. A person who had any measure of human decency or remorse for killing someone would not likely be seen dancing around and filming themselves with the stolen money. How proud you were of yourself. You should understand that while you were dancing on that bed, throwing down those bills, you weren't throwing money down on the floor. You should think of that as you tossing down the days, weeks, and months of your life, just like that. Like so many pieces of paper. And the very next day, when you went to spend that blood money on sneakers and jerseys, you revealed to the court the value you placed on the human life that was taken. Just a pair of sneakers to you. Dietrich Williams, a jury of your peers having found you guilty of murder in the first degree and robbery with a firearm as a principal. As to count one, this court will find you guilty, adjudicate you to be guilty, sentence you to life in Florida State Prison with credit for 1,752 days already served. Count two, I sentence you to life in Florida State Prison with credit for 1,752 days already served. Two counts will run concurrent with each other. There are standard court costs, cost of prosecution, will reduce those to civil lien. Both you and Mr. Newsom should understand that life sentences are necessarily life without possibility of parole, because we do not have parole in Florida.
Now, the last guy was Michael Boatwright, the trigger man. Now, keep in mind, you guys, this is the same guy who blew the kiss after finding out he found guilty of killing XXXTentacion and robbing him. Now, he nodded his head the entire time the judge was explaining to him how his life would be once he got to prison.
Mr. Boatwright, you turned a robbery into a murder. And on that day, when you stood there and fired that weapon, you didn't just end one life. You effectively ended 5 lives, including your own. Like I just said, you need to understand that when we say life in Florida State Prison, that means life. It is necessarily without parole. Florida abolished parole. You know, as the song says, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. You will spend the rest of your life in prison. From here, you will go and be placed in a cell that has a stainless steel slab that's attached to the wall. That's your bed. And next to it is a stainless steel sink and a stainless steel toilet. That's the furniture that you have in that cell. You'll spend every hour and every day and every week and every year of your life in that cell. And one day, they'll come and open up that cell in the morning and you'll have passed on. And only on that day will you have served your sentence. A jury of your peers having found you guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm and having discharged that firearm and having that firearm discharge result in the death of Chasse Anfoy, this court will sentence you to life in Florida State Prison with credit for 1,732 days already served. As to count 2 for the robbery with a firearm, which was discharged and causing death, this court will sentence you to life in Florida State Prison with credit for 1,732 days already served. Both counts carry with them a 25-year minimum mandatory. Count 2 will run consecutive and not concurrent with count 1. And both counts will run consecutive and not concurrent with your sentence in case number 1316428 CF 10A. The court cost prosecution will be reduced to a civil lien. You will have 30 days to appeal. Thank you. Court will be in recess.
Tax cost report for each defendant. That can be placed in the defendant. Oh. I thought that was something.
Now, here is the last you will see of these guys in court. We probably won't see him anymore. We'll see him probably on social media, during visits and things like that, taking pictures and maybe an occasional video of them, during a visit. But other than that, they will never see the free world ever again. These guys are young, 20, 30 years old. Life is all the way gone. Let me know how do you feel about this in the comments below. I told you guys I was going to let you know about the sentencing date, so I wanted to keep my word. I will catch you in the next video. IDN signing out. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Catch you in the next video.